All right, welcome everybody to a product spotlight. Can you believe it is Wednesday? I am Dave Cooper, DaveCooper.live, and today we have another wonderful show for you. We are talking about mass timber. That's right, mass timber. And why is mass timber becoming so popular? What is happening in the world that is driving mass timber to become so popular? Because it really, truly is. Not only is it popular, it's beautiful, it's sustainable, and we're going to talk about all of these things in just a moment because we have Element 5 in the green room. I forgot his green M&Ms, but he's in the green room, and we're going to bring him on in just 1 second. But first, we must give a shout out to our sponsors, Forward Solutions Group, Ben Hershey and Joe Butler. They are a team with more than 175 years of experience developing and specifying manufacturing for panelized volumetric modular industries. With best practices in development and implementation, they offer consulting with investors, developers, manufacturers, builders, and using offsite methods. Forward Solutions is driving people and companies to succeed where others have failed. If you want more information, please reach out to Ben at forwardsolutionsgroup.com. Ben, thank you so much. Joe Butler, thank you so much. We couldn't do these shows without you, so thank you. All right. At Dave Cooper Live, we are bringing you the people and the processes that are building it better. Our guests and topics include experts in building systems, building science, building codes, and the tech used to build it better. We are always seeking out the best and the brightest in construction and discovering all the ways that innovative buildings come to life. And like I say always, today is no different. We are live on LinkedIn, YouTube, Facebook, and Twitch. And why are we on Twitch? Because the young people aren't coming to us, so we're going to the young people. We're going to change this industry. We are no longer going to be in the last place when it comes to innovation. We're going to move our butts to first place, and I'm going to see to it that we hopefully get there. All right, enough about that. Today's going to be a great conversation, so without further ado, why don't we bring in Patrick Chenord. Hey, say happy St. Patrick Day as well. Patrick and Patrick, bringing them in. Hey, Patrick, how are you, buddy?
Hi, Dave.
Man,
nice to see you.
Yeah, nice to see you as well. I'm so excited about today's show just because mass timber is becoming so prevalent in the market. We're seeing more of it. There's more manufacturers coming online. There's like, with you guys, and we'll get into it, there's more automation happening at a larger scale. So before we dive into it, though, Patrick, I want to know everything about you from the moment you were born to this very moment in time. Yeah, that's right. Don't leave out any of the good stuff from the hospital, Patrick, or we will call your mother. But you only have 2 to 3 minutes to do it. Go ahead. Tell us who you are and what you're all about, and then we'll hop into it.
All right. Thanks, Dave. So Patrick Chenord, Canadian, born in Toronto, started in the timber industry about 10 years ago. I worked for a log home company at that time. And although the log home company only milled the logs for their log homes, they provided what they called a weather-tight shell package. So they sold the roof trusses, the soffit, the fascia, the shingles, the windows, the doors, a complete kit of parts. And then I discovered cross-laminated timber in the European marketplace. And I realized that rather than just being able to sell a unique product, being log homes in rural environments, that by combining CLT, we would be able to sell and promote prefabricated commercial buildings in urban settings. And so that's where the journey began for me about 10 years ago. And then it's taken about 10 years to get where we are, and that's about it on the original background.
And here we are, right? Here you are 10 years later on the Dave Cooper Live show. So thank you so much for being here and taking time. I know you guys are growing rapidly. I mean, heck, you just secured another deal. We were when we were talking, so that is absolutely awesome. So we all wish you much success, honestly. All right. Let's talk about this a little bit, Patrick. Why is the mass timber revolution happening right now? What is going on in the market that is driving this mass timber revolution?
So yes, we are in the midst of this revolution. It began in Europe about 30 years ago, and it's characterized by buildings that are being prefabricated in high-tech manufacturing facilities and are being shipped to site where they are assembled rather than constructed in the traditional sense. And so the wave of the use of these materials and the methodologies with which these buildings are being designed and delivered and assembled started in British Columbia about 10 years ago. And the wave of the use of these materials has made its way all across Canada and is now well into the United States marketplace. Yeah, so I can tell you a little bit about, yeah, I can tell you a little bit about, why there's so much interest in mass timber, if it makes sense to do that now. And it's it depends who you're talking to. There's really no losers in this industry. Everyone is a winner. And if you're talking to an owner or developer, the conversation is generally about making a higher return on investment, and mass timber and prefabricated offsite construction offers the prospect of being able to build these buildings cheaper, faster, and generally people are willing to pay a premium to be in these absolutely beautiful buildings where there's exposure to natural elements, and so hence a higher return on investment. For the environmentalist, it's the concrete and steel industries are responsible for about 12 to 14% of the carbon dioxide in the atmosphere today. And we know that we cannot continue to build the way we've been building for the last 100 years. So when you're building with wood, you're using our force to absorb all of the carbon dioxide and to store the carbon sequester the carbon in the form of these beautiful buildings. So there's something great for the environmentalists. And then for the building occupants, it's studies are showing that there are health benefits associated with living and working in environments in which there's exposure to natural elements. So we're creating these really nurturing, healthy environments for people to live, work, and educate our children in.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, they are beautiful, and we're going to show a little bit of your website here so everybody can see that in a bit. But it's funny. You said it just like I said in the intro. We can't not keep building the same way we've been building. It has to change. We're the only industry it hasn't really changed over the years. What is Element 5 doing differently than some of the other mass timber companies that have been around?
Good question. Most of the mass timber manufacturers in North America, they tend to focus on just the structural components of these buildings. So we're talking about glulam columns and beams. So it's a post and beam structure typically with heavy panels, so CLT panels, NLT panels for floor and roof structure. We believe that there's an opportunity to take a leadership role in the industry by constantly investing in innovation, research, and developing to sort of stay on the leading edge of the innovation curve. And that means increasing the scope of the services that we're able to provide, but also investing in new products, complementary engineered wood products that allow us to offer a broader scope of the packages that we're supplying. So one of which is we now do a prefabricated exterior wall panel. So going back to the log home days, that was the original inspiration for this, where they did a complete weather-tight shell package. Right. We're able to offer the complete structure as well as the envelope for our buildings. And
so, all right, so people, I don't really think people are going to understand. You offer the complete structure. Now you're saying complete structure with waterproofing?
Yeah, so when I talk about the structure of the building, so the mass timber buildings are typically made up of, glulam columns and beams, glulam beams that form the skeletal structure for the building. And then we use these massive panels, which we make, that are called CLT, cross-laminated timber panels. So we make a solid wood panel that's about 11.5 feet wide, by 53 feet long, by about 15 inches deep. And so it's an environmentally friendly alternative to concrete And so those components make the whole structure of the building. And today, mass timber buildings are being constructed, 18 stories tall and beyond, using these components for the structure of the building. And then we also prefabricate a high performance envelope panel, so that as the building goes up quickly, we're able to encase and enclose the building quickly with a prefabricated exterior envelope panel.
Yeah, so I mean, you have a 3D panelized system that's going in on site. That's what I'm hearing. Yeah,
that's correct. Yeah, nothing is cut on site. Everything is pre-made, so all of the holes are bored into the elements. All of the connections are provided. So essentially, it just goes together like IKEA furniture when it arrives on site, and that's how we drive down the cost. That's how we speed construction.
Yeah, I'm not sure if you can share it or not, but how do you assemble it on site and get that weatherproof capabilities so quickly?
Well, it's the fact that it's not being constructed but rather assembled on site. Just as an example, although Europe is ahead of this by about 30 years, Canada had the tallest modern wood building in the world for a period of about a year and a half. And so when Canada built this building, the industries in North America sort of, took notice. And so that's an 18-story building, and the install company was able to assemble 2 floors per week. So that building was erected and rendered weather-tight in only 9.5 weeks, and it only took a crew of about 6 to 8 people in order to do that. Otherwise, if it was, in concrete or steel, it would have taken considerably more laborers in order to put that building together. So we're reducing substantially the number of workers that are required on site because, everything is really being prefabricated in a factory.
Sure. So there's a comment that already came in, and it ties into what you're talking about, Patrick. Hopefully we didn't lose you there. You went blank. You still with us? All right. Yeah. It says, hi, Dave. Thanks again for the content. Your videos are better than MSCs in modular construction. Congratulations. Can we say that mass timber would be more eco-friendly than steel? If it is more eco-friendly, which metrics are used as parameters? I don't know the answer to that. Maybe Patrick.
Well, I'm not so sure about the metrics, but the steel and the concrete industries, it's well known that simply because of the whole creation of those elements, that they contribute to about 12 to 14% of the carbon dioxide in the atmosphere today. And so as world population goes from 7 billion to 9 billion people, we know that we cannot continue to afford to build in that way. So, the world is desperate for solutions to climate change and the whole carbon dioxide problem. And building with wood, where you're leveraging the forest to absorb that carbon dioxide and store it in the form of these beautiful buildings, is a real solution to the climate change problem and carbon dioxide crisis.
Yeah. Thank you so much for that question. Really appreciate it. All right, Patrick, let's get back into element 5 and where you're headed. So you guys have chosen a path of more contemporary timber structures. Why don't you walk us through the thought process behind your company's designs and the reasoning behind them, if you wouldn't mind?
Sure. So the majority of the buildings that we're involved in, they come to us from third parties, from architects, from owners, developers, and engineers, and so often they don't come to us as mass timber buildings. There's a lot of interest in the marketplace about mass timber. So owners come to us, they'll send us a set of drawings of a concrete or steel building, and they say, I'm interested in mass timber, but what's this building going to cost me in wood? So our approach to that is really to provide services to handhold those projects from the very early stage through to fruition. So we take a look at those buildings, we optimize them, we look at alternative materials. Sometimes they're hybrid structures. They're not always entirely mass timber. Sometimes they're partially concrete or partially steel. And then we're able to cost them and then provide the owner with a complete proposal that talks about the supply of materials, the cost of engineering, the cost of the connections, supplying at the site, how many guys are involved, how long it's going to take, and then we provide them informative information that helps them to make a decision whether they want to go down the path of mass timber or what have you. So in answer to your question, Dave, we just started to design our own buildings, but for the most part, we're here to empower the industry. We have architects on staff, we have engineers on staff, but it's not meant to replace those in the industry. We're just kind of hand-holding and helping those individuals to go down a path of mass timber, which they might otherwise not be that familiar with. And maybe later into the conversation, I can talk about some of the actual building profiles that we're trying to develop ourselves and why we think that's valuable.
Yeah, no, I think that would be very, very valuable. So let's talk about the factory you guys have online, right? It's highly automated, one of the most automated mass timber manufacturing facilities to date. Can you talk to us a little bit about how that is and tell us a little bit about your facility, where it's located, the size, what do you have in it? We want to know all your secrets. Share them with us.
Okay, so we're very proud of the factory that we've just built, and it's just coming live. It's located in St. Thomas, Ontario, which is about an hour due west, an hour and a half actually due west of Toronto in the province of Ontario. The Europeans are way ahead of us in mass timber manufacturing. But what we did is we work with a company called Lednick. They are the leaders in mass timber manufacturing equipment. And so we brought in a full line of Lednick equipment, right from, fully automated from one end of the factory to the other. We're making predominantly CLT, these massive wooden panels that I talked to you about, as well as glue lam components. And so Lednick has done about, I guess 7 or 8 or more high-tech mass timber manufacturing facilities around the world. And this is their latest and greatest. This is the latest technology. So this is, in fact, the most fully automated mass timber manufacturing plant in the world. Not the biggest necessarily, but the most fully automated. And so it's it's a little bit more, 137,000 square feet. So it's quite massive. We have the capacity to produce, in more technical terms, 45,000 cubic meters of CLT, 5,000 cubic meters of glue lam, which is the equivalent to about 80 40-unit apartment buildings per year. So a fairly sizable amount of throughput from that factory.
Yeah, I would say. And then what about your market? Is your market here in the States, Canada? Talk to us a little bit about where you're servicing right now.
Yeah, so definitely a market in Ontario here. As I say, the wave of the use of these materials worked its way across Canada and has now went into the United States. Here in Ontario, we've taken up mass timber in a big way. There are 20 or 25 large mass timber buildings in various stages of design, development, or construction. It's an industry that's being driven to a large degree by the education market. So pretty much every major college and university in Ontario was building a mass timber building, but we're seeing a tremendous amount of uptake in the U.S. market as well. And where Element 5 is located, if you take North America and divide it in half by the Mississippi, there are all the mass timber manufacturers on the western side of North America, and they tend to dominate that side of North America. And, because of the cost of shipping materials long distances, they're less competitive in this half of North America than we are. But because of where we're situated geographically, we're really in the center of the whole eastern half of North America, because we're vertically integrated with the Northern Ontario forestry industry. Right. And because we have ready access to the central and eastern United States, where there's a high concentration of populations, we're really well situated to be able to, sell into that market. Plus, another key factor is the devaluation of the Canadian dollar because of the exchange differences. So technically, Americans can buy Canadian product at a significant discount simply because of the exchange differences between the two currencies.
Sure, sure. I may know the answer to this already, but with the cost of lumber prices, how has that impacted you guys as an industry as well as your company, or has it not impacted you at all?
Well, we're seeing the increases in the cost of construction materials everywhere, both in the concrete and the steel industry. So the wood industry is no different. The commodity market for wood has gone through a certain rise, obviously, in prices. But one of the ways that we're able to shield ourselves from that to some degree, or to a large degree, is we recognized the importance of being vertically integrated. So as we move forward in developing our plan, we form strategic relationships with the Northern Ontario forestry industry.
Yeah.
And guys that have ownership in sawmills in Northern Ontario, one is a director on our board of directors, and the other is our managing, our chairman of our board. And so because those guys have interest in the supplying dimensional material, but they're also interested in the mass timber industry, they help to shield us from some of the peaks and troughs in pricing, in raw material pricing. And because of the strength of our relationship, it's almost like we're buying futures. We can commit to larger volumes of wood at more preferred pricing. So prices will continue to go up, but we're shielded from a lot of those peaks and troughs, and it hasn't really had that much of an impact on our business overall.
No, it's great. I'm glad to hear it. So what is the interest in mass timber? Like the university, student housing? Is it the educational side of it? Is it the research that shows that we're learning in environments with natural wood and all that does help? I mean, because I'm hearing this quite a bit. We're seeing corporate offices use a lot of mass timber now. Walmart, I think is one of them, and then also universities are starting to use a lot of them for their new classrooms and dormitories. Is that really because of the learning aspects, of the comfort?
Well, I would say that it's a combination of reasons, and again, developers like it because it means that they can make more money, right? They can build faster, cheaper, and make a higher return on investment.
Right.
It's great for the environment. So there's a whole environmental aspect to all of this, and as humans, we're naturally connected to the environment, and as world population increases, we know that the majority of the densification is going to be in urban environments, and so we're being forced to live in concrete jungles essentially, and because we're naturally connected to our environment, and we're forced to live in these environments, I call it the sort of moving the mountain to Mohammed kind of thinking, in that if we can't live in natural environments, then we're bringing those natural environments into our living, working, and educational environments, so that as humans we feel naturally connected to those. So I think it's a combination of all of those things that's really driving our industry, and clearly the wave of the use of these materials is upon us, and it's just a much sort of more intelligent way of building for so many reasons.
Yeah, for sure, for sure. All right, everybody, listen, we are live on LinkedIn, YouTube, Facebook, and Twitch, because that's where the young people are, and we go to the young people, and we're going to hop into a little bit about what Element 5 and Patrick they're actually working with students. They believe in giving back. We're going to touch on that. We're also going to touch on some of the designs. We'll go to the website. We'll take a look at some of these things. Now is your time to ask questions. If you don't want to ask questions, tell us where you're from. We'd love to hear from you and what part of the world or country you are joining us from today. All right, everybody, hit that like and share it right now. Thanks so much. And also subscribe to our YouTube channel. All right, Patrick, let's talk about the education side of this. That's why I wanted to talk a little bit about why mass timber is so prevalent in education right now. But you're also prevalent in education and what the youth is doing for our industry. You want to tell us a little bit about how that's working?
Yeah, so one of the challenges in our industry is the lack of education. There are very few architects or engineers who really know how to design and engineer around mass timber. But I'm really pleased to see that the educational space has taken a serious interest in mass timber. There's very few formal educational programs in mass timber engineering, design, and what have you, but that's fairly rapidly changing. And the fact that it's at least here in Ontario, it's the education sector that's driving a lot of interest in this. Is really a good thing, and that means that there's going to be more programs to educate, tradespeople, architects, engineers in mass timber, and so that's going to lay the groundwork and the foundation for the growth in this industry going forward. So that's fantastic to see.
Yeah, no, it really is. And listen, we talked about it a little bit. Architects, your traditional education, they're not really teaching a whole lot of offsite construction. They're not teaching too much about mass timber design. They're not teaching a lot about modular or any other manufacturing methods that are out there right now. So starting the education has to be an internal thing. It has to be from us out in the field, reaching out to the universities, reaching out to the students, and allowing them to be part of what is happening if we stand any chance of getting them into our industry.
Agreed. Totally agree. It's you've got to start at the foundational levels, and you've got to have the skill set in the industry to move the industry forward. So right. It's all about laying foundation now for a brighter future.
Yeah. So talking about future of housing affordability, where are your thoughts on all of this? Right now we have a massive housing issue going on in the country, assuming in Canada as well. How are we going to address that, and how are you and your company looking at that as well?
Very good question, Dave, or comment rather. So, we were motivated to get into this industry because of the positive impact we can make on environment and what have you. And, now that we've got the bandwidth, the throughput to be able to deliver on some of these projects, the most major cities in North America are struggling with an affordable housing problem. Again, world populations are increasing, and cities are densifying. And there's, like here in Ontario, for example, with all of the people that are moving into Ontario here, we're not able to build houses or housing as quickly as the population increase. So as an industry, we felt that, because of what we're doing, that we can build cheaper, we can build faster, and we can create these really healthier environments for occupants. We thought, well, maybe we have at least part of a solution to the affordable. We put a consortium together of like-minded individuals, and that included an architect, an engineer of record, a fire consultant, a code consultant, an envelope consultant, an acoustic consultant, electrical and mechanical guys. So we put this consortium together, and we said, look, guys, how can we create an affordable housing solution using more sustainable, natural, renewable materials? And we worked together on a particular project in Ontario, and so we went out for tender. We weren't even sure whether we were truly going to be competitive in this space, but what we realized is that we were, in fact, and we beat out a lot of we had about 4 or 5 competitors, and we beat out the guys that were doing the recycled steel containers, the volumetric units. They're like blocks that you stack together. Yeah. And we actually won that project rather. And what it means now is we've created this productized version of affordable housing that we know is competitive. So now we're out promoting, that as a solution to the affordable housing crisis, and we're creating these, nurturing, healthier environments for all of the occupants.
All right. So, very interesting that you said that. So on this upcoming Monday, excuse me, we are actually having a conversation on just that topic. How did you beat them out? So I'm going to ask you some of these questions, because on Monday we have Greg Ugaldi on, we have Brittany Campbell Turner on, we have we have Jerry McCahey on, and we have Henry Mickelberg on. So we have kind of a global presence, and the whole conversation is based right around what you just said. why hasn't mass adoption of offsite construction, modern methods of construction, mass timber, volumetric, why hasn't it taken off? Is it a cost thing? Is it a lack of knowledge? All of these things. I'd love your input on this, because this is going to be a hot topic for us Monday at 1 p.m.
Wow, there's a lot of challenges in the mass timber industry, and so I could probably go on and on about that. But there's, I mean, just people are used to doing things in a certain way, and
Right.
it's just, there's inertia. It's just kind of hard to change the way people are doing things, because there's an educational element to that. There's an investment that's required. There's risk that's involved. And
Right.
so it's just going to take a while for people to realize the benefits of building in this way. So inertia, I think human inertia is one thing. There's a lot of stereotypes involved in building with wood. People think, well, it's wood. I mean, it's, it burns, and it's not durable, and it won't last. And, these are just misperceptions about it. There's a ton of research and testing and that's gone on in this industry to prove that, it is safe to build with mass timber. It is durable. Buildings in mass timber will last 100 years, etc. So overcoming those stereotypes is another challenge. I've talked about the fact that there's a limited number of people who are educated or have knowledge in this. So there's a lot of things that are creating these challenges in this space, but it's just a matter of time. And I think it's evolving, and I think people will realize that it makes so much more sense to build these buildings, manufacture these buildings offsite, and use responsible materials to do it with.
Yeah, sure. And how did you guys come up with, the data to beat all of the other industries out? You can share it or not share it. I'm just curious, like, when you say, I mean, that, to me, that is huge news, right? When you say, hey, we have beat them on cost and what we can do, this is a big conversation, which a lot of people don't understand. And this is where the value of offsite construction comes into play.
Yeah. So that, again, is one of the major challenges in this industry, is the fact that, there's quite a few mass timber buildings in North America already, but there isn't a lot of data that compares mass timber buildings against concrete and steel buildings. So there just isn't a lot of data to support the industry empirically or statistically. Right. So how we beat out our competition there is there was a real opportunity here. We put all of these people together. It was a design build project. So having all of these members of the consortium together working on this particular opportunity, right. All of those guys basically submitted their pricing, and we didn't know where the competition would come in, but then subsequently, when we were awarded the project, we found out where we came in at, and we significantly undercut the competition on our proposal. And it's in these situations with affordable housing, it's usually driven by numbers. The lowest bidder wins these projects. So not only were we able to beat out the competition price-wise, we're providing a much healthier solution. I mean, these are, a lot of the companies that are in the affordable housing space, to drive the cost down, they have, I wouldn't say an inferior product, but it's not up to the standard of a lot of the other buildings. But that's not what we're providing here. This is a really solid, durable, healthy building. So we didn't know where we were going to come in at, but happy to see that our numbers were lower than anybody else. So
hey, listen, I mean, winning's winning, right? I mean, hey, that's awesome. But see, I see it as a win for our industry, not just winning for Element 5. I think that's a win for the industry. I think, when it comes to affordable housing, that's some additional government officials and other people that are involved that possibly start realizing that, hey, offsite modern methods of construction can be and should be a better way to build moving forward, and can be cost effective. So I see it as a win for a lot of us out here in this industry. So love it, love it, love it. All right. So, all right, Patrick, I love it. St. Patrick's Day. Couldn't have been better timing. That wasn't even set up. So that's what's perfect about this. Talk to me a little bit about what you're using as design software, digital tools. Can you share with us any of that, and how you can build off-site and be so accurate that there's no there's no cutting on site, it's just assembly. How do you become so accurate this way?
Yeah, so well, not only is the mass timber industry changing the preferences for the materials that are used for the structure of buildings, it's changing the way buildings are being designed and delivered. You know, because everything is manufactured with high-tech CNC equipment, you know, you have to design everything into these buildings so that you're providing the information to your equipment to be able to bore every hole in a CLT panel or a glue lam column and beam, to, you know, cut all of the knife plates. And so what's happening is the industry is using sophisticated software in order to do all of that design work. So it's all three-dimensional modeling. It's all, you know, BIM modeling, and it makes much more sense to do it in that way, because what you're doing is it's a much more sort of collaborative approach to design. You're getting all the key stakeholders involved in the early design conversations, and you're looking for efficiencies in all of those sub-trades coming together, so that collectively you're figuring out as a group how to drive down costs. And it's so much easier to design all of that in software ahead of the game, where it's very easy to make a lot of, you know, changes that are necessary, rather than in the traditional sense where, you know, you're dealing with problems at the very end of a building. You know, when you get the trades on site that are doing things and they don't have information about how to install something or what have you, then that's when you're getting a lot of the change orders. You're getting a lot of invoicing at the tail end of it. So it's a lot easier and it's a lot more intelligent to design it at the front end of a project rather than at the tail end. And so, just in response to your question about the software, you know, the most common software that's used by architects is Revit. So in order for us to work together with the architectural community, we use Revit and other sort of common architectural kinds of software. We use Grasshopper, we use Rhino, we do a lot of parametric modeling. So, you know, for example, rather than having to model out every window, you use intelligent software that does every window exactly the same. And then we use a product called CADWork, which is the software that drives all of our equipment. So, and there's interfaces between all of it. So, you know, what you see is what you get when you design that building at the front end. That's exactly what you're getting at the end of it. That's produced. It's, you know, the guys in our factory would hate me saying this, but once you've designed it, you essentially press play, and that's what you're getting. It's exactly the same as the model.
So I love it. I love it, and I love that you said parametric. You know, it's been a conversation on this show quite regularly anymore. Parametric design, generative design, and all of that. So love it, love it, love it. All right. So why don't look at that. Thomas Reed from Howick says hello. There you go. Hey, Dave and Jennifer. Hey, Tom, thanks for joining us today. We always appreciate having you join us on the show. There's quite a few of you out there, which I'm you know, loving, you know, between YouTube, Facebook, LinkedIn, and Twitch. We got a full house today. I do get some notices here that Facebook's having some glitchiness going on, so I apologize for that, but I have nothing to do with it. It's just the way that it goes. All right. So as we move forward with this, why don't we get into some of your designs, Patrick? Why don't we showcase, you know, what you guys are building, and you know, I think everybody, what you're doing is gorgeous, man. It's mass timber is gorgeous, but what you're doing is, you know, particularly gorgeous, especially with some of these more modern looking designs. You mind if I share your website?
No, feel free.
There you go. All right, got it up. So what are we looking at here?
Okay. So, all right. So just a little bit of history on the projects that we've done over the years. So we started making products in mid 2017, And admittedly, we did a lot of small and medium-sized projects, just kind of getting a foothold in the industry. So we won some projects, we built a reputation, we delivered some projects. We built our team. And this particular project, this is called the Toronto Regional Conservation Authority. This was kind of like being drafted into the big leagues. This is the biggest project that we had been awarded so far. It's an 80,000 square foot building, and it's a combination 3 and 4 story building. We've been working this project for quite some time. I think it's almost been about 3 years since we first provided budgetary pricing on this, and so we're now delivering this to site in about the next 6 to 8 weeks. So, yeah.
Wow. Yeah. So that's going to Ontario. I mean, look at the inside. I mean, it's just absolutely gorgeous. I love the renderings that you guys are pulling together, and I love that this is all starting to come about for you, being a new manufacturer online. So here we go. Here's some of your other work that you guys are currently involved in. I love that structure on the left-hand side there, that very modern-looking resident. I guess I'm assuming it's a residential building.
It is, yeah. It's a residential building for an architect here in Ontario, and what's interesting and great for us as a manufacturer is we're seeing the use of mass timber being used in everything from single family homes and cottages into very large residential buildings or office buildings, and so this. Mass timber is really well suited for a modern contemporary design building, which is exactly what we're seeing here. It allows you to do things in the design of these buildings that's a little bit more difficult to do in light frame wood, for example. So you can do these wonderful cantilevers, and so this is a recent example of a single family home that we did for an architect called Graziani, in southern Ontario. And it's a combination of here I'm talking about structure here. So we use glue lam for the columns and the beams, and then we used CLT for the roof slabs.
Love it. I love it. There's a video here. Can I play it?
Absolutely.
See how probably won't be able to get the sound, but we'll play the video. So this is a walkthrough then of where this project is. That's
correct. It's a walkthrough of really how the building is assembled and what it looks like finished on the inside.
I love it. Why don't you walk us through if you see anything you want to share?
Yeah, only that the building assembled very, very quickly. So it all comes together on a flatbed truck. Everything is pre-cut, pre-drilled. No cutting of the members on site whatsoever. Every piece has a unique location where it fits within the structure. So the key thing is this thing really just goes together very quickly. I can't recall exactly how long it took to put this building together, but I think it was probably in the neighborhood of maybe a week to 10 days with a small crew on site.
Yeah. I mean, it's an absolutely gorgeous looking building. It really is. I mean, you're seeing a lot more of this contemporary look. It's very clean, but that I could live inside there. Absolutely. Can you send one to my neck of the woods?
Sure.
Love it. Love it. Love it. All right. Cool. Very cool. Let me stop this here and come back to the show. Now, let's look in the audience here. So this is what's fun about the show. Hey, look who it is. Etienne. Do you know Etienne by chance from SIGA? He's the CEO of North America for SIGA. He does house wraps, membranes, and they just came out with a product for waterproofing mass timber structures.
Absolutely. Yeah, we know them. We know the product, and we are in fact using it as a waterproofing layer on our CLT panels. So when we're shipping them to site, we're protecting them against the elements during the construction process.
That's awesome. So you do know SIGA and Etienne. That's awesome. Good. Hey, SIGA, Etienne, thanks for joining us today. I hope you are well. I appreciate your time. All right. We also have Mitchell Hyde. Hi, Dave and Patrick. Huge fan of the work Element 5 is doing for the Ontario economy and abroad. Thank you very much. That's pretty cool.
Thank you.
Mitchell, thank you so much. Oh, man. Hey, Diru Tadani, how are you, my friend? What is the cost per square foot? That's a great question.
Yeah, and it's not an easy one to answer. It really depends on the building. So the costs are varied depending on whether you're doing a single family residence or whether you're doing a 250,000 square foot building. But what I can tell you is sort of in generalities, and the stats and the industry information that is available suggest one that you're looking at about a 4% overall reduction in cost from concrete and steel alternatives. I believe that is going to get quite a bit cheaper and more cost effective with time. We used to bring in many of our materials from Europe. We used to have sort of a buy model where we were forced to bring in materials from long distances. So we've eliminated a lot of the shipping costs associated with bringing materials in from afar, because now we source all of our materials from Ontario. The fact that we manufacture locally, the fact that we deliver locally is driving down the cost. So I would say safe to assume that overall it's about a 4% reduction, but expect that to continue to increase over time and as the industry matures.
I love it. I love it. Diru, thank you for joining us today from LinkedIn. Love it. All right, here's another comment. Pedro, amazing projects, Patrick. Joining from Rio de Janeiro all the way from Brazil. I love it. I mean, Patrick, you can't see what I see, but we got full house from around the world right now listening to what you're talking about. So that's amazing. Thank you for joining us all the way from Brazil. Who would have thought we would have been in Brazil today, Patrick?
Fantastic.
I love it. I love it. All right. So I just want to show one more project. I want to show everybody this wooden project that you did, WOODIN, from your website, because we showed a residential. Let's also show your capabilities on a mass structure, and then we'll wrap up the show from there. Sound good?
Fantastic. Yep.
All right. Perfect. Okay. This is the wooden project. What are we looking at here?
Okay, so this is a 3-story office building in Waterloo, Ontario, and there was a competition for funds that were available from NRCan, the National Research Council of Canada, and this particular project was awarded a $1.6 million Canadian dollar grant for innovation in wood. And it has a 6 meter by 9 meter. Sorry for the metric for all of our U.S. joiners here, but it had a 6 by 9 meter grid pattern, and it would make sense in order for us to span our CLT panels across the 6 meter grid. But what they really wanted to do to demonstrate innovation in mass timber is to span it over 9 meters. And so we took up the challenge. The innovation came from us in the form of a new product that we developed. We call them box panels or hollow core CLT panels. So what we did is we created a product that has a CLT layer on the bottom, a CLT layer on the top. It has an engineered joist in between, so it's a hollow core CLT panel. It's actually stronger than CLT. It allows us to span greater distances much more cost effectively against concrete. And so we were able to span the 9 meter grid versus the 6 meter grid. And now what it means is where a building like this would naturally have gone to concrete, we're now able to keep that building as a mass timber building. So wow. You'll see some renderings there of what that building there can look like on the inside. So the plan is to be able to expose the underside of our CLT panels to create this sort of wonderful.
Oh yeah, look at that. Let me see if I can blow that up. Did that blow up on your end? It sure did.
It did, yes.
All right. Yeah. I mean, come on. I mean, it's beautiful. And if you're telling me that it can beat out traditional site-built methods, concrete methods, I would go for this all day long, and this is what we're trying to put out there. I love it, man. Absolutely beautiful stuff. So tell me, Patrick, what is it that we can expect from you moving forward? You got any surprises for us? Anything we should look out for? Anything that's coming up that you would like to announce so we can have our members join?
Well, only that we're excited about the opportunity in the U.S. marketplace. We've recently won our first projects down there. We're really excited that there appears to be a big uptake in the U.S. market as well. So there are some absolutely beautiful buildings that are already designed and constructed in the U.S. market, and some beautiful buildings that we're involved in. And I'm just grateful for the opportunity to be able to supply materials from Canada into the U.S. market, and to be pioneers and leaders in this space, and at the same time be able to make some positive contributions to environment, communities, future generations, that kind of thing. So anything you guys need in the U.S. or elsewhere across Canada, let us know, and we would be happy to assist with your projects.
Yeah, I bet you would. I love it. I love it. Well, we need more companies like yours. So I have a favor to ask. When you actually allow people to see the inside of your manufacturing plant, can Dave Cooper Live come up there and live stream from the factory floor?
Absolutely. Yeah, we're running when we're able to. Post COVID, we'll be running live tours, and would very much welcome the opportunity to have you come through our facility, Dave.
Yeah, and when the world opens up, maybe we can come to one of your job sites. If you have anything happening here in the States, let us know. We'd love to show the world what you're doing. All right, Al Tunison, keep up the great work, Dave. Thanks, Al, for joining us today. Glad to see you. I hope you are well. All right, everybody. Can you believe it? That's 55 minutes. It goes fast, doesn't it?
It does.
It goes fast. All right. So, all right, everybody. Listen, thank you so much for joining us today. Thank you, Patrick, for joining us as well. We really appreciate what you're doing, what Element 5 is doing for our industry. I look forward to sharing more success stories about Element 5 here on Dave Cooper Live. And I look forward to diving a little bit deeper into your manufacturing capabilities once you open that up to the public eyes. So with that said, one last time, please hit that like and share button. If you are not following Patrick, if you're not following Element 5 on social media, go there right now, subscribe to them, and definitely hit that like and share button. And for us at Dave Cooper Live, you joining us on YouTube is essential to our success. We need to see you on YouTube. Please go there. Please like and share and subscribe our YouTube channel. It houses all of these conversations, past and the future, all right there on our YouTube channel. So, all right, everybody, thanks so much for watching today. My name is Dave Cooper. And again, thank you to Forward Solutions, Joe Butler and Ben Hershey for sponsoring our show today. Patrick, don't go anywhere. I will come right back to you after the outro, and we'll have a wrap up. And everybody else out there, we will see you tomorrow at 1 p.m. on Increasing Influence with Miles Biggs, Biggs Ideas, and myself. Talk to you soon. Bye now.